go, oh, well, forgive that fucked up situation, or forgive that person that thinks they're bad, you know. But letting go is it's a much easier concept, and it's also the thing for me about the course is, you know, if we truly understand what the course is saying, we have to let it all go. You know, literally all of it, all the good stuff and all the bad stuff. I don't know about you guys, but when I understand that, it gives me the heebie-jeebies, because I just don't know where to be after that. I'm just going to go, okay, so I'm going to let it all go. So where does that leave me? You know, so that mythical me stuff is like white knuckling my life at the moment. I really don't want to let that all go. Thank you very much. But I understand that that's what I'm studying the course to learn how to do. Anyway, what I'm saying is honours is a good Scottish word, Jono. It means basically I lend a helping hand. So I think Jono, what he's got with his work is literally a helping hand. So that's why we're here tonight, to talk about the course and to talk about how we can all be each other's champions in this incredible journey, which is being a course student, indeed a teacher of God, because it's the same thing, basically. So welcome, Jono, to Glasgow. First time in Glasgow. So
thank you for having me.
He thinks we're all Neds, you know. He thinks we're all going to jump on it. And he said to me, "Will I leave my bag in the car visiting?" I said, "Yes, Jono. This is her in Glasgow."
Bear in mind, I'm from South Africa. So
you
did that in South Africa.
Not
my
least because
laptop
you're in the
wouldn't
West End. But yeah. So this is Jono.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for that introduction, and for inviting me in. Welcome to everyone. So I think to start with, maybe let's just do a bit of breathing and settle in, be present, a little meditation. And then I'm going to guide you from that straight into what I call a 10-step letting go process. So this process is something I came up with based on the teachings of A Course in Miracles a number of years ago, 10 years ago. I always try and find an easier way to do things. So I'm like, well, how do we systematize this? Of course, it's got a lot of amazing teachings, but I felt like it's not systematic enough. So I put together a 10-step process which you can go through. And if you do that, you are practicing forgiveness as the Course teaches it. So I encourage you to choose something, pick an issue in your life you're struggling with, where you feel like you need to do some forgiveness, you need to do some letting go, and work with that issue. So it's a very powerful process. So whatever it is, it can be something major. I wouldn't use this process with something minor, because it's too powerful. So there's something really that's long-standing, deep-seated grievance, something in your life that's just been bothering you for a long time. Then I encourage you to try this out. Let me guide you through this process, and you might just find that at the end of it, something miraculous has shifted. I've seen it in this process. So that's the start, and then we'll just go from there. I've got some things I want to share, but it's a small group, so we can make the evening quite interactive as well. So just to start with, sitting comfortably, feet shoulder width apart, back straight, cup your hands in your lap, close your eyes, and just start off by taking a nice deep breath in through the nose. So breathing in, noticing how the stomach rises. If you like, you can put one hand on the stomach just to feel that subtle rise of the stomach, and then into the chest. Feel the chest rising. Notice the air flowing into your nostrils. Maximal inhale breath. Take another sip at the top of the inhale. Just pause there, hold it briefly. I want you to just check in and scan your mind. Close your eyes. Notice any thoughts, any emotions, any sensations coming up for you right now. Particularly anything that feels at all negative, limiting, contracted, constricted in any way. Just observe that, observe the feeling, observe the thought. It's all energy, in motion, and if it doesn't feel really good and it doesn't feel open and expansive and clear and nice, something you need to let go of, just be willing to let it all go now with the help of your breath. So God is only love, and therefore so am I. In your own mind to yourself as you exhale out through the mouth. Exhale, let it all go. Have a sense of just releasing whatever that was. You could even imagine it leaving you like a black cloud, a dark smoke. It's going, gone. It's the nothingness that it really is. It's actually nothing masquerading as something. Lower the stomach into the spine. And just rest here in this empty state for a few seconds. You're getting quieter, just sinking into a place in your mind that's beyond all of the normal thoughts. And then comfortably breathe in again. This nice, deep, slow, rhythmical breath. You breathe in through the nose. And out through the nose. Very slow, deep, gentle breaths, and just be completely present to the breath. Just observing all the subtle sensations of the breath. Breath flowing into the nostrils, pause, breath flows out of the nostrils. And you're not really doing anything. There's no effort, no stressing, straining, or striving. It's just happening to you, through you, and for you. Let the breath flow in and the breath flow out. And you just step back and you watch that whole process just happening to you, through you, and for you. And it's very peaceful, it's very calming, very relaxing. Just observe the breath. Very simple. If you notice that idle thoughts come in, thoughts about the past, thoughts about the future, what you're going to do later this evening, what you're going to do later this week, any of these kinds of thoughts, just casually observe them. Imagine they're like clouds just drifting by. And you just blow them away with the breeze of your breath. As you exhale, you have a sense of just releasing those cloud patterns. And shifting, changing, ephemeral thoughts. None of them are real. None of them really mean anything. And so you can just let them go, let them drift away. The breeze of your breath. To the nothingness they really are. And you're just sinking a bit deeper and deeper and deeper with each breath. It's a very still, calm, relaxed state of mind. There's no thought, just pure awareness. This is the blue sky of your true awareness, beyond the cloud patterns, way beyond the cloud patterns. just pristine, beautiful blue sky, and the light of your source, the eternal light within you, shining through that. Have a sense of that. You don't visualize it, just try and feel the empty, spacious, open awareness arising in your mind, just shining away all the dark, constricted thoughts lie in the cloud bands. Opening your mind to the light of true awareness. And you keep watching your breath. Just observe the breath flowing in to the nostrils. Observe the sensation in the nostrils. As you exhale, you'll notice the subtle sensation just below your nose, between your nose and your upper lip. Notice the subtle touch of the breath on that very narrow area between your nose and your upper lip. And by focusing all your attention there, bring your mind into the present moment. There's no room for extraneous thoughts. You're just purely aware. Just a sense of a pure, formless awareness, which is perfect love. Arising in your mind and your heart. And you just keep watching your breath. Observing the breath flowing in and the breath flowing out. Observe the subtle sensation in your nostrils as you do that. And if any thoughts come in, you just bring your attention gently back to the breath. It's the entire practice. Just keep watching your breath. Thought comes in, you notice it, you let it go by returning your attention to the breath. There's really nowhere else to go and nothing else to do, nothing else to think about. Just breathe, relax, be still. Sinking inwards to peace of God, it's been called. Passes all understanding. Intellectual mind, rational mind, thinking mind will never get you there. And when you let go, just by watching your breath, it helps you to quieten the busy mind, the monkey mind, it's called in Buddhist terms. So just keep watching your breath. Into this nice, deep, slow rhythm, getting more and more relaxed with each breath. As we go through this process, I'll remind you of yourself and just keep watching your breath. Stay in this very nice, calm, connected state of mind. So now into this quiet stillness that you've created in your mind, this spacious awareness. So you look into your mind and bring up something that's been troubling you recently, maybe for a while, maybe for your entire life. It's that issue that you really struggle with. Could be to do with a relationship, financial challenges, health problems. But pick an issue that's particularly vexatious to you. And go through a process that's going to help you to release it. Right now. I want you just to be aware. Aware of thoughts and emotions about the situation. Some other people involved in the situation that are disturbing your peace. So awareness is the key to start with, because denial, negative thoughts and emotions leads to repression, suppression of them. So even if it's uncomfortable, just be aware of these briefly. Notice the difference between the deep, spacious awareness you experienced and this feeling. It feels contracted, it feels limiting. Somewhat constricting. So just be aware of the energy moving in you as you observe what these thoughts and emotions feel like. And be honest, if they don't feel good, it feels quite yucky, feels contracted, constricting, limiting, painful. Recognize that. This is not something, it's feeling, it's not something I want to hold on to. And have a sense of being just somewhat detached from these thoughts and emotions. So you are observing them. There is a part of your mind, true awareness, that can just observe without attachment, without getting sucked into the whirlpool of these thoughts and emotions. So you don't let yourself react emotionally to them. Just remain in this observer position, as though you're floating above the clouds, high in the sky, just looking at these cloud patterns below you, and they're shifting and they're changing and they're moving. And there's a part of your mind that's aware of that, there's movement. But this higher awareness, it's really changeless. It just observes all of this quite equanimously. So you see yourself as separate from the thoughts and emotions that you're observing in the mind of the person you thought was you previously. This is the beginning of the full realization you'll one day have that you're not really this person at all. Just keep breathing deeply in and out through your nose. If you find it difficult to clear your mind, a little tip: briefly open your eyes, keep your chin level, and look up at the ceiling as you breathe in. And that has this amazing effect of blanking the mind. Just blanks the mind and clears the mind, creates the spacious awareness. And just keep breathing in this nice, deep, slow, rhythmical pattern as we go through this exercise. So that grounds you. Just keep some awareness of the breath. So in this awareness you've created, you to remind yourself that the world and your changing perception of it, which is well symbolized in the cloud patterns. Always shifting and changing, moment by moment. Nothing's the same ever. Impermanent, changeable. Including this situation that seems to be upsetting you. All of it is really an illusion. Clouds are not real. Clouds seem to have form, they seem to have some kind of substance, but in truth they don't. You get up close to them, there's nothing there of substance. You just push your hand through a cloud and it's no resistance. So just remind yourself that this is just a dream. We've made up all these thoughts and these emotions. We've made up a world that seems to justify them, only to keep ourselves away from the pure formless awareness that is our true nature. To keep us away from the blue sky, we've invented the clouds and the world below them. And then we get lost in the clouds and in the world, and we wonder why we feel lost and confused and afraid and helpless and guilty and frustrated and angry and fearful and whatever else is troubling you, whatever those emotions are. Understand they are made up by your mind just to take you away from this pure formless awareness of the blue sky, to cover that over, create a veil of illusion over that awareness. So none of it's really real. It's just made up by the mind. And so it's not really happening. You may think it's happening, but you just think it's happening. You think you're having a dream, and then you wake up from the dream and the dream is gone. And this is how it is in truth with our lives. Think it's happening and it's all very real. Everything is so fleeting. People, places, events, situations come and go, shift and change all the time. Constant patterns of change and shift in the clouds. And then we look to that for reality, try and find some kind of reality, some kind of salvation there. And of course, we're never going to find it there because it doesn't lie there. And if you find some resistance coming up to this message, just observe that as well. Breathe into it. And be willing just to release it with your breath. So exhale. And let it go. You find yourself just drawn to this deeper awareness beyond the clouds. Something compulsive about the blue sky that's really unavoidable. Because it's the foundation, it's the ground of being, without which there would be nothing. No clouds, no world. So recognize that this is actually the foundation. And everything else, the cloud patterns, the world, your thoughts, your emotions, and physical sensations, it's just a veil covering over the pure formless awareness, perfect love, which is what you really are. Beyond the dream. You're not the dreamer, you're not the dream. So just be willing, even if there's resistance, to do the step by thinking that whatever you think and perceive about this particular situation I asked you to bring up, and the characters involved in it, including you, just the character in the dream, is only an illusion or a dream. Use whichever term you find most helpful for you. Illusion, dream, nightmare. It's all the same. No hierarchy of illusions, no order of difficulty and miracles. And you'll then be telling your mind the real reason it should let go of its attachment to these false thoughts and perceptions. Real reason is because they're not real. They're not really there. They don't even exist. That's the ultimate justification for forgiveness, or as I prefer to call it, letting go. So I want you to remember that all of this entire veil of illusion, is just a projection of your own mind. Even if it appears to be outside and independent of you, people, places, circumstances, events, just a projection. It's no substance. You've made it up. And then, very ingeniously, put it seemingly outside of your mind, in a world that seems to be outside of you. And there it sits, seeming to have a reality, and then you perceive it as real. So you have this self-fulfilling prophecy. You project out what you don't want, you experience it as real, you judge it as real in your perception, and then you suffer because of it. And then your ego, which is just the belief in separation, tells you that that entire drama is real, and that this is what governs you. You are in bondage to your own mind, just your own false belief in a separate self that has projected all of this out, perceives it as real, and is addicted to that process. And you do it over and over and over again. So whatever someone seems to have been doing to you, appears to be doing to you, in fact doing it to yourself, out of your own unconscious guilt, you've projected out into the illusion or the dream. You manifest it in the form and the situation and the person that appears to be causing you to suffer. Because there's always a bad actor in the dream, isn't there? The person who seems to be the problem. So it's not your fault, it's their fault that you're unhappy, that you're suffering, that you're in pain. But really, it's your own mind doing it to you. You project it out, you forget you've done that, and you perceive it as real, and you make that projection perception mechanism your reality. And then you suffer because of it, over and over and over again. So it's our own projections that lead to our perceptions of the world. So there's always you who are responsible for creating your reality. Breathe in on that and just accept that responsibility. Right? You did it to yourself. Not always easy. We want to blame someone else, something else is responsible. But that makes you a victim of the world. There's no hope in being a victim. The only hope lies in letting go of that victim identity and taking full responsibility. Saying, I did this. I created the veil. I projected it out because I wanted a separate self above all else. Above the truth, I wanted a separate self. And so I denied the truth of my true being God, love, pure formless awareness, beingness, whatever you want to call it, spirit. I denied that and instead started playing games of projection and perception. And the situation that you're struggling with is evidence that you're still playing the game. In fact, you're addicted to the game. You love the game. But there's a part of your mind that remembers the truth, the pure formless awareness, perfect love that you really are, and keeps saying to you, wake up, something more than this. Actually, the underlying happiness is everyone's natural state and right. So you might now have a tendency to judge yourself. No, you foolish idiot, how could you have done such a stupid thing? Which is just more self-sabotage, more guilt. So this is where it's useful to have compassion. Just breathe in compassion. Be compassionate towards yourself and all others involved in the situation. Knowing that you and they are really doing the best that they can in their current state of awareness, consciousness, and that all unconscious, unloving behavior happens because people do not feel loved. It's in fact a cry for love. So you and any other people involved in the situation really need your love rather than your judgment and your condemnation. It only makes the situation worse and strengthens your ego. Really, you want to let go of these destructive thoughts and emotions and find the underlying happiness that is everyone's natural state and right, including yours. So the compassion is just understanding it's not easy. It's a journey. Being gentle with yourself. You made mistakes. We've all made mistakes. The world is a mistake. Being human is a mistake. But it's okay if you recognize that it's just a mistake. It's not a sin. Your error is not permanent. It cannot really bind you if you're just willing to let it go, which is what we're going to do now. So, I want you to breathe in again, nice deep breath in. And just feel the emotions. So really allow those emotions I asked you to bring up at the start of the process. But really feel into them. So whatever the feeling is. And just give yourself permission to feel it fully for maybe 30 seconds, a minute. Not pleasant, but you need to experience it, feel it fully in order to let it go. It's only when you experience just how awful the ego really is will you be willing to let it go. If you try and hide it and camouflage it and mask it, then you're never going to really want to let it go. So feel these emotions fully, experiencing all the pain, all the discomfort, noticing how that shows up in your body. Some energy movement somewhere, maybe there's a pain somewhere. And just sit and observe that. So there's a part of your mind that's still able to observe this. So that stops you from going into a downward spiral and getting sucked into the ego drama, not being able to have the awareness just to look on all of it as what it is, just another attempt by the ego to just your own belief in separation to convince you that it's true. So once again, breathe in. It helps you feel like you're drawing in a light, golden white light. You don't visualize light, well, just imagine it's a light feeling coming in. Feeling of lightness flowing into those areas of tightness and tension and darkness. You breathe the light in. Let it stream into those areas, flowing into every pore, every cell, every muscle of your body, every part of your mind, every fiber of your being is in the light. Now, you're going to be willing just to let go of whatever the pain is. Decide that you really don't want this painful, negative feeling inside of you to disturb your inner peace, cloud the awareness of your true happy self, the light, ever again, and choose to release it. Letting go of all the effort it takes to hold on to that thought and emotion. So breathe in deeply. As you do this, visualize the light flowing into you, streaming into any of these areas, darkness. Just blowing the darkness away. And now, as you exhale, you're going to exhale out your mouth. And let it all go. Have a sense of really releasing whatever that darkness is. Visualize dark energy leaving you. Feel the feeling leaving you, like a dark cloud leaving you. Black smoke leaving you. Blow it all away. Fully exhale. Release it all. Pull the lower stomach into the spine. So you're completely empty. Empty of all of this darkness for a few moments. Just hold the breath there. And in the stillness, in the emptiness, you'll get a glimpse of what lies beyond the darkness. The light of truth, the light of your own pure formless awareness. So breathe in again. Again, breathe in the light. Just breathing in the light. Every pore, every cell, every muscle of your body. Any areas in your body that need it. Feel it getting stronger and brighter, more and more radiant. Now, appreciate the absolute perfection of what's just taken place. As you exhale, feel gratitude. Without the darkness to let go of, you will come to the light. Darkness is an invitation to the light. An invitation to let go of what doesn't serve you and find the truth in you. And that's its only purpose. To remind you that you want the light. And only the light. So you recognize that this whole situation is absolutely. Why is that, you might ask? Because it's a mirror. Mirror of the situation has helped you to see and to let go of your own pain and negativity. So appreciate the perfection in this apparently imperfect situation. Brought your unconscious guilt, fear, anger, any other egoic. These may have remained buried in your subconscious, out of awareness for years. But the situation was necessary to bring them up into conscious awareness. So of course that was not pleasant, but that's the first step in healing. You must become aware of what it is that's problematic. And then second step is to choose to let it go. To release it. So this whole process, this person, situation, whatever would really vexed you was actually perfect. The perfect trigger to activate the hidden subconscious belief arising for you. To show it to you, because how else do you see it but through the world? And the world is a projection of your own mind. So what this does is it turns the tables on the ego, helps you to use everything the ego's made. It's undoing. Whatever the pain, suffering, sickness, death, whatever's being triggered to arise by a particular person or situation is perfect, because that subconscious belief is arising so that you can look at it and you can release it. So maybe you can start to appreciate the absolute perfection in the apparent imperfection of this vexatious situation or person. It's all necessary for you to become aware of your deepest subconscious block to the awareness of life's presence, and be willing to let it go. So all perfect, really nothing that was ever wrong. And this has helped you right now to release these dark thoughts and emotions, so you can become aware again of the perfect peace and love and joy that are your true nature and what you deserve to feel all the time. So you're struggling to feel deservable. Goes against your ego's identity of being unworthy, undeserving. Just let that go and do the steps. I appreciate perfection in this situation, and I appreciate that I am entitled to perfect peace and love and joy. And even if I've got a little glimpse of that tonight, that glimpse is enough. It's enough to open me up to the whole of heaven, ultimately. And I want you to breathe in again, nice deep breath in. And breathe in gratitude. So the penultimate step in this process is to thank the person or the people involved in the situation for everything they've done for you. Right? They gave you the gift of bringing up your own subconscious guilt and fear, anger, and whatever else came up. And that's the purpose of our lives, is to bring up these dark thoughts and emotions and let them go, release them to the light. That's the only purpose, the only true meaning of this world. It's a place where we can learn to do that, and where we can find our freedom. So really thank this person for giving you this great gift. This was a great gift. Be able to see your deepest, darkest subconscious pattern and release it. Sneezed on the truth of that. So that you can be freed from all the suffering and pain these thoughts and emotions have caused you. So it's all perfect in its imperfection, and you can feel deeply grateful to this person or people involved. If you can really feel that gratitude, breathe it in. That's really the litmus test of whether you've actually forgiven, let it go. When you actually feel in your heart the gratitude arising. If you're not quite there, just observe that, that's okay. You can do the process again. Do it as many times as you need to get to the point of real gratitude. You can honestly, genuinely say in your heart to that person or people involved, thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart
was showing me my shadow, the subconscious programming, which I wouldn't have seen otherwise, and helping me to release it. That's what you've actually done. So they're your greatest teacher. They're there to help you to return home to heaven. Seemed to be an obstacle in your path, but they were actually the savior, teaching you how to return home. So now finally, say to yourself as you breathe in again, you're totally forgiven, or let go of the situation, the whole situation, the people involved in the situation, yourself, all of your thoughts, words, and actions related to the situation. And it's been dissolved into the nothingness it always was. And you and everyone else involved has been healed through your forgiveness. Say to yourself as an affirmation of this, I forgive you, and then name the person or people. Forgive you, name, and I am forgiven completely. All is forgiven and released. We always are, have been, and will be one self. And so I love you unconditionally as myself, capital self. Say that one more time. So, say in your mind, I forgive you. Name the person, and I am forgiven completely. All is forgiven and released. So all the darkness, the negativity, it's all really one mind having a bad dream. It seems to be in your mind or someone else's mind. It's really just a delusional mind that's having a nightmare of separation from its source. So all is forgiven and released now. Breathe in one more time and breathe in the light. Infusing every pore, every cell, every muscle of your body, every part of your mind, every fiber of your being in the light. And you exhale. And just release and have a sense of being released. Say, I'm one with my source, I'm one with this other person. We always are, have been, and will be one self. This is the end result of forgiveness. The awareness of the one self, or the Christ in you. And so, say it with genuine heartfelt sincerity to this person or people. I love you unconditionally as myself. You are me and I am you. Namaste, they say in Sanskrit. Divine in me, true self in me. Acknowledges and honors that same true self in you. And this is unconditional love because simply acknowledging everyone as you. So how can there be separation when everyone is you and you are everyone? It's not possible, except in a fantasy and a dream world, to what you've got caught up in. So now just in this forgiven state, this released state, just sit quietly for a couple of minutes of deep silence. Observe your breath flowing into the nostrils and out of the nostrils. Just let the breath take you into the quietness, into the stillness, and deeper into the quiet, calm, peaceful stillness. Nothing else to do, nowhere else to go, nothing else to think about, ignore all extraneous noises. There appears to be a siren going on, which represents certain things in the dream, but don't let any of it bother you. There's no hierarchy of illusions. A dream is a dream is a dream. Sink inwards, deeply into the peace of God. Passes all understanding. Peace that comes when you've really let go and really released. Nowhere else to go, nothing else to do, nothing else to think about. Breathe, relax, be still. Surrender into the stillness. Merge with that stillness. Become one with it. Realize it is you, you're it. Realize there's only one stillness, one presence, one awareness. Right here and now. Feel that stillness, that presence. Underlies all sense perceptions, all sense of you being a body, having a separate identity. All of that is undone. So just revel in the undoing. Sink into the peace. In silence, and let it envelop you. Wholly, completely, fully surrender to it. Completely. The next couple of minutes of deep silence. If you find any thoughts arising, you disturb this deep peace. And let them go. Like cloud patterns, shifting and changing, no reality at all. You just blow them away. The breeze of your breath. let the blue sky, your true awareness, your formless awareness, perfect love, just shine through your mind. One minute or two of deep contemplative silence. Be aware of the sound of sound, deep presence underneath all noise, all sound, subtle sounds of the rain on the window, underneath the vast deep sound, always there, no fucking noise, just seemingly going on. Sink into that sound, let it envelop you, embrace, surrender completely. It's who you are and what you are. Give yourself over to where you think. A little while, you rest in the peace of heaven. very gently. Bring a little bit of awareness back into the body, into the breath, and the senses. Fire that into the world. And pay attention to the whole round of sounds that you're feeling and touching, hearing, smelling, tasting. That you're aware of all of it from this deeper places that form this awareness in your mind. So on the count of 3, you're going to gently open your eyes. 1, just breathing in. Noticing how the stomach rises and the chest travels. Subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Pause at the top of the inhale. Smile. Scan your mind again. Have a look and see what's there. Then you'll notice more spacious awareness, less thought and more space. And often like that's the case, just appreciate it, welcome it. If you still find there's contraction there, constriction, any kind of negativity, just observe that. And then to let it go. Once again, exhale on the count of 2. And then just blow all of that away, letting it all go. The breeze of your breath. And nothingness that it really is. Going, gone. The stomach into the spine. And lost from anywhere else. Just rest here. The gap between breaths. That's beautiful silence. Arises in your mind, so you can stay there for a few seconds. And you can't hold your breath anymore, breathe in again. Deep, slow, rhythmical breaths. Observe the pattern of the breath, observe the breath flowing into the nostrils. Notice any subtle smell of the air, we don't really notice, but you tune into the subtlety, you will notice this, all this slight smell everywhere. Notice the smell, noticing the taste in your mouth, after the taste of your tea perhaps. Notice what you're hearing, subtle sound of the raindrops on the windowsill. People breathing, subtle movements. So you tune into the subtlety of the anyway you're going to become more subtle in your awareness. Less gross, more subtle. Into subtler feelings, subtler emotion, higher states of thought and emotion. In any way to bring and do the ego. And so you stay rooted in this deeper awareness underlying all of your sense perceptions. Beyond any interpretation, beyond any judgment, beyond any meaning you give them, lies this deep infinite presence. That is all meaning, and has no specific meaning. Not trying to assign meaning to it. Just be aware of it. Feel formless awareness, perfectly now being aware of everything. And so as we continue on in the evening, just have this awareness in the background. Invite this awareness in. Invite it to bring insights and ideas, change perceptions, bring miracles. Open your mind to the infinite, expansive, pure, formless awareness, perfect love, or private, call it. And bring you closer and closer into that eternal experience, that in mind way. There are no religions, just perfect love, pure formless awareness. So let that guide you through the rest of the session. Open your heart and mind to that guidance. We call the Holy Spirit, so it's said, so it's done. And on the count of 3, gently open your eyes. Just take a minute to look around. Notice how your perception has subtly changed compared with when we arrived. So there's buzzing energy, and then suddenly there's a quietness, stillness in the room. That's what presence does. So how was that?
Very relaxing.
Anyone experience anything profound, anything shifting, moving? Yeah. So that was a process that really puts together in sequence the essence of the teachings of A Course in Miracles. So if you do that process sequentially, then you're not really skipping any of the major teachings. So you probably heard me, I was talking about projection and perception. In the end, it comes down to one thing. And one thing only. You only have to learn one thing. Anyone have any idea what that is? What's the one thing you have to learn in life?
There's one. It's not real.
Yeah. There's one skill, because that's what it comes down to. It's one essential skill.
As you go. Forgiveness. As you go.
Exactly. So that's all we have to learn.
Is the answer in the question? Oneness?
Well, it's the means of getting to oneness. So yes, we need to learn we are one, but there's a mechanism of learning that, and that Jesus, or Yeshua as I call it, calls forgiveness. I prefer to call it letting go, because it's more descriptive of what you're actually doing. I forgive you. What does that even mean? What does that mean? So many people can't tell you what that means. It's confusing. I forgive you. You've done something to me. I pardon you. I think you've already done it. And now I pardon you, but I still think you've done it. Is that what it means? Does it mean I have to forget what you've done? Whereas I let go of my own negative thoughts and emotions is quite simple. That's quite simple. Okay, so I'm feeling angry towards you, but that's my anger. So I just need to let it go. And then I'll be free of it. So forgiveness and letting go are synonymous. Really the same thing. But you say letting go, it brings it more directly to something you can actually practice. So I'm quite big on putting things into practice. Theory is one thing, but how do you actually put it into a practice, a process that's going to help you?
You know, when we were doing the meditation, I was thinking about, when we were talking about letting go, I thought, well, what is my resistance to letting go? And what comes up when I hear the phrase, right, it's all about letting it go, letting it go, letting it go. And I feel holding back. And then, sorry Liz, I used Liz, she was sitting next to me in one end. And I just thought, I haven't seen Liz for ages. And it's so good to see her again. And I ain't letting her go. So there's something about letting go when I think about it, and I think about love and that Noah's Ark thing, and 2 by 2, and the holy relationship, that I think is the key to understanding the oneness. And there's something about that letting go, and I think there's not really much stuff. Like, I was always the place when I was brought up as a kid that whenever you broke anything, my mum would always kind of laugh and go, thank God it's not an arm, you know, and so so I'm always quite pleased with myself that even if I love a pair of earrings, even if I love them, and I lose one, I go, it's a fine, you know, and if something gets broken, I go, at least it wasn't an arm. There's something about letting go that makes me feel really lonely, really, 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 really. And I already have abandonment complexes anyway. Mm-hmm. So there's something about kind of like that isolation of letting go. And everybody that knows me knows I'm very much a people person. So there's something about, if I was speaking to Jesus about it, and he would say to me, you let go everything except that feeling. Let go everything except the knowledge that if you were to understand that, you would understand it was true for this one, and this one, and this one, and this one. So it's like if I can believe in the letting go, what I would be doing was only ever letting go of who I think Liz is. But what I would gain is the truth of me and her. So it's like I when I think about letting go, I kind of cling on to anybody I can think of as the divine spark. So there's something I need to work on, I think, as well as letting go, which is to know that in every single encounter that I'm in, and I had a great nemesis for my meditation there.
Did you?
It was great fun. I was really struggling. But in all of the people that I have to let go, I have to let go my projection on them, which is my perception of them. But it's reminding myself that what I would get or what I would gain is the knowledge of my own divine spark by understanding theirs. So for me, the letting go has to be coupled with the knowledge of the huge nothingness of what I'm letting go and the massive understanding of what I'm walking into, which is that Liz and I are Jesus. We are all that
You're
is.
not even Jesus, you're just one. You're nothing and everything.
But it's
See,
like,
this
no,
is the scary
it's
thing.
like sometimes when I think of the
We
letting
need to
go,
tell my
it just
psychiatrist that.
it just feels like
I'll
all
get my medication.
lost.
Please.
Lost.
How about that? I'm not being myself, I'm separate. I love you. I love you so much. I embrace you into my heart. On and on and on the whole time. Since love heals. So just swap it around, but it's just start saying how much you love that wee part. Sometimes that works for me.
Sure. And the letting go when it comes up that I'm annoyed at my resistance towards letting go. That's what I've done. I've kind of gone, it's okay, Libby, because what you're frightened of letting go is you're frightened of abandoning your loves.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And you never would be abandoning your loves. That's just your own abandonment fears.
Well, it comes back to special love versus holy love. Yeah. So we fear that we'll lose our special love. And we'll lose our own specialness.
But you know, it's not even a special significant love. It's literally someone I've not seen in about 2 years.
Mm.
You know, I mean, I've not seen Liz in 2 years, and yet she can't spell.
She, the person. you
She
see?
did fine for that. Do you know what I mean? Because it was just the way you're looking at me just now. I realise why. Do you know what I mean, Liz? Do you know?
Yeah.
Like it could be anyone.
Mm.
It could be anyone.
Mm.
I ain't letting anyone go.
Mm.
We are the divine spark. You know.
Mm.
You know. So it's not about oh gosh, I really miss my mum or my pal Claire. I've known her for 30 years. It's not.
Mm.
You know. Even Liz. I'm joking, but you know what I mean.
Mm.
It's we're all in this together, you know. Nobody's getting out.
Yeah, we wake up together.
I suppose kind of my kind of thinking is, and I don't know what this means, is that letting go would mean something about intimacy, and that feels extremely frightening, and I can't put that into words about what that is, but letting go in actual fact is something about being intimate and vulnerable, and so that's a very scary place to go.
Mm.
Or from
You got to
my
let go of
ego.
your defenses, don't you?
Yeah.
My defenses is my safety lies. You say, okay, well, what's there to defend? If I am just divine spirit, that's all I am. There's nothing to defend. So,
I love the bit about thanking the whatever it is, the crime that you thought it was, or the grievance, for teaching you where it is you really need to look at your heart. For me, it was not being worthy, and I've created many situations where it's been shown to me that I wasn't worthy in someone else's eyes, so therefore I've defended against that. And not even poor me. But definitely, I love that, because if you get to see everybody as serving a purpose, it can veer into specialness then, because you go, oh, you're doing that just for me. But certainly, what it's revealed to me doing that today was the idea that, oh my God, every single one was me telling me, I had to look at my sense of unworthiness, which the other side of the coin is super special.
Yeah.
and this is the only way we see it.
Yeah.
So the genius of A Course in Miracles is that Yeshua is saying to us, look, this is the way out. The ego has created this elaborate construction to project out all of the things you don't want onto other people, and to justify the guilt and the fear and the anger and the attack. Seemingly it's happening outside of you, but that very same mechanism of projection is the mechanism that's going to free you.
Yeah.
So it's the Achilles heel of the ego, because it has to do that. It has to keep projecting in order to maintain itself. But if you reinterpret it continuously with the help of the Holy Spirit, which is just the remembrance of oneness, remembrance of that presence of oneness, of love, then the ego's got no defense against it. It can just keep projecting. It can just, okay, well, let's amp it up then. Anyone familiar with that? Right, we're gonna amp it up. But the more it does that, the more it reveals itself, you see? Because that's actually what you want. You want it, okay, so start pushing it, and now all of the stuff comes up. It starts projecting to try and get your allegiance. But as it does that, it reveals itself and it reveals itself and reveals itself.
That feels really true. I love the fact that the ego's getting Achilles heel, but that feels really true about the. I mean, sure, we've all got a situation where it might be. And when I think about it, it was a really sad, a big judgment on someone in the family, and my sister and I were sharing it, or a movie where there was lots of horror, or there was a story, and all of a sudden you're in that place where you've gone, oh, and you just start laughing, because it's like the ego's really trying to whip it up,
Yeah.
you know, and it reaches a kind of peak of kind of going,
And then you laugh.
Do you know what I mean? We've all had moments like that where you just take yourself, too seriously in those kind of like, and
Mm.
it just breaks, and
Mm.
the ego's like, oh no, I just tried too hard there to get them, you know?
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, it will reveal itself. So the thing with this process is if you keep doing it, what tends to happen is it comes at you hard and fast. So people go,
Yes.
well, what's happening? My life was okay, and now I've
Yeah,
started on a
shut it
spiritual
down.
path, and everything's going
This is it.
pear-shaped. Familiar? Does it sound familiar? And then you go, oh no, what am I doing here? I'm doing it wrong. No, okay, I need to go back to how I was doing it. But that's not the case. What you actually need to do is go through it.
Sure.
Yeah.
And that part of that is the isolation, isn't it? That loneliness, that feeling of, like kind of, we talked about that the day in the course, that thing of, who do you talk to about the course? You don't. You don't.
Keep that yourself.
Keep that to yourself.
Well, I mean,
I've
I'm amazed there's
done
a
things
good
like
support network here.
I've done things like talk about my experiences, and I've talked about them in here, and I think I've wound people up this sort of wrong way, like an incident I had in a dance hall. It was about 40 years ago, and I was singing this last thing, and then I get brushed off, and so I'm not a professional singer, but Eddie or somebody's been on the tell what I do, but I still think to myself as enjoying myself and that, and sort of trying to get our people to sort of enjoy
Join in,
themselves,
yeah.
and no people down. No, so I want to be. I think my ego might be a bit left over from some of my rants that I've done in the TS, and I know I've done daft. I know I've said a lot of daft things in the TS, and I've done daft things in public transport and all that.
You're in good
But
company.
I've been. But the thing is, I've been listening to Jordan Peterson, and he's an associate professor, and I thought, well, why am I really listening to him when my wife's an associate professor? I'm just a real ordinary guy, real humble in that. No, but
Can I introduce Lucy?
Yeah.
Because I haven't actually done that. So it was, amazing you made it, Lucy.
It's a miracle.
Yeah.
I think it is a
Lucy
bit-
had some challenges getting here. Car broke down.
Car broke down.
Yeah.
I was waiting, and they sent me a text saying we will be 270 minutes.
I
That's
see.
quite a lot. I had to work that out. Like, how
You would have missed
many hours
out.
is that? That's loads. So then I phoned my mighty companion Iona, who's on the course as well. So Iona and I have both been on Jenna's course for 6 months. Yeah. Do I talk about that now?
Yeah, why not?
Sure. Okay. So I phoned her up and said, no, it's not going to happen. I'm not going to get there. And she said, Lucy, I think you need to kind of think,
Out of the box.
think out of the box. What about you get the train? Oh my God, that was like a miraculous thought, because I had to pick all my stuff up and go on tour with Jono, taking him up the country. So I had to pick my stuff up for my flat. So I was just thinking, I'm gonna have to sit here and wait and then pick the stuff up from the flat. And anyway, I just went for it, and wasn't sure if I could get the bike on the train, but it was completely empty and the bike was fine. I had a thermos. I didn't have a cup. Somebody left a cup very kindly.
I saw that message.
So it kind of, like, for me, actually, I think being on the course for 6 months and having studying it more deeply than I did the last time round with Course in Miracles, definitely my ego is kicking up absolutely bonkers. Totally bonkers. But what's great is it gets tracked. It gets tracked in the course and with my mighty companions. So Iona lives next to me, but basically she said one day, "Oh, I'm doing this thing. You heard of Course in Miracles?" And I said, "I love Course in Miracles." She said, "Oh, great, we're meeting with this guy who's in South Africa. Okay, come and sit on my sofa." And so I went and sat on the sofa and stayed through the chat and was curious. And then I came back again the next day.
You did, and then I phoned you up and I said, "Well, jump in."
Yeah, exactly.
And give it a try.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
really what, so when we say the course, I'll just explain so everyone knows what we mean. There's a Course in Miracles, which, is a book, and that's the course. But about 4 years ago, I really felt a calling, that's all I can say, to do something with this book. I didn't think there was a program out there that really did it justice, honestly. So that's such amazing teaching, and yet, you maybe the typical pattern is to meet once a week, once every 2 weeks, you chat for a couple of hours, it's all very nice, everyone goes home, and then you get the feeling no one's really practicing it much in between. There's this vast, profound knowledge in there. So I obviously got guided to create an online program. This is pre-COVID, so this obviously things Spirit knows what's coming. To really help people to do a deep dive into this, like daily practice, the daily supported practice, so not once a week, every day. You can join a live session facilitated by this amazing technology, which I'm using right now. I'm recording this on Zoom, which allows this connection to happen. So anyone, anywhere in the world can connect. And we found it doesn't really matter that you're not there physically. It's kind of weird to actually see you, but I feel like I know you. Because I've never met him. We've never met in person.
We've never met.
So we've never actually touched. Like, wow. There's actually, seemingly a body there. Anyway, it's not really real. We know that. But the point is, we deeply connect over hours and hours of these sessions, and go on a journey. With mighty companions on a journey together, and I'm one of those. And all I've done is facilitated a process that other people can join in and get this daily support. So if you're having a bad ego day, well, join a session, because almost certainly there will be help in that session, because that's just how it works. So often, as happens with the course, something so appropriate comes up for that person. It just happens time and time again. That's exactly the message I needed to hear in this particular section of the text, in this workbook lesson. So we work through the text and the workbook and the manual for teachers. Right? So it's because otherwise you're not doing it properly. It's comprehensive in a daily practice, and it's quite structured and disciplined. And if you don't want that, then it's not for you. But if you really feel like you need your hand held to get through this pretty monumental work, this isn't an easy thing to undertake on your own. I mean, am I alone there? It's not the easiest book in the world to just go, oh well, people say to me, I've just read the Course in Miracles. You go, really? You just read it? What does that actually mean? Because it's not really the kind of book you just read.
John, this is the book that the blue book as we call it, as opposed to the Circle of Atonement book.
Yeah.
You're coming from this book.
Yeah, so I use that because it's the most commonly available version. It's on the internet. Circle of Atonement is a bit bigger, thicker. There's even more. But the essential teaching.
Have you read that? Have you
Not
read
all
that
the way
one?
through.
No, I have never read it. I've never been without it, but I've never read it. I wouldn't say I've read the Course in Miracles now.
No. So this is it's a very structured approach to working through it systematically, one lesson a day, one section of the text today, and if you keep doing that for a year, you'll get through the entire book, because I've done it for a year. So, that's the course that Lucy's referring to, which I make available freely to anyone. So if anyone would like to join after tonight, you can join for 3 weeks and give it a try. So that's an offer to everyone. No money, just jump in, give it a try, and you see if it works for you. Some people it works for, some people it doesn't. It might not work for you. But if you are looking for some kind of support in your life with this practice, this course, then it could well work for you. It's designed to do that.
What I was just going to say, quite a lot of us in this Glasgow group are already on the morning going through, there's quite a lot of teachers going through the lessons and things, which, we've all got our favourites and things, and we kind of move in around. So what do you think the difference is? Because at the moment you can go, right, today's lesson, what is it, 202? Is it 202?
No, it's 213.
213. And then there'll be like 6 different people, and the ones that, will go, okay, so 260, and they'll discuss it, and there's various forums and everything. I'm just wondering, because I've got 1 or 2 favourites that I would go into. What do you think what do you think?
Well, the difference is not someone teaching and preaching to you. You come into a forum and you interact. And it's interactive and it's engaging.
Okay.
So I'll say to you, so what do you think? Summarize that. And people go, oh, me? No, the other you. Because it's about learning for yourself. Not just we can all listen to YouTube videos and go, okay, well, that's good. But what happens in an interactive dialogue is something quite special. I'm always worried using that word because, but it's quite miraculous. It's to rephrase it. Because what happens is you really start to get deeper insights into the material that just don't seem to happen if you're doing it in a kind of flat way. Someone's saying, right, there's I'm reading it to you, or here's my interpretation of it, or my take on it. Stuff in the interaction, in the dialogue with people, that's happening real time. The Holy Spirit uses that.
So it's more because in the group that we're in, we would do that between us.
We do it on Thursdays, but you're saying every day.
Yeah.
So but I know time doesn't exist, but what time are you talking?
So we do 1 or 2 sessions a day, except on a Saturday. I have 1 day off. So it's a 12:30 afternoon. It seems to actually work for a lot of people. Those are the most popular sessions.
And there's 2 evenings.
And then there's 3 evenings in the week.
3 evenings.
3 evenings. I used to do it every evening, but I have a wife who said no. And I was like, okay, fair enough. I've got to create some balance. So it's 8 sessions a week, and those sessions can go on for 2, 3, sometimes 4 hours, depending on what we've got to cover. So if you want to, you can dive really, really deeply. Now, no one does every session. But if you do this, what I call it is immersion learning. Anyone heard of immersion learning? This is what you do on a retreat, which I'll talk about as well, because we have a retreat coming up. But the principle is immerse yourself in it. Don't just dip in once a week. Immerse yourself in this, in a daily practice for an hour to however much you can afford, but daily. And that's what really starts to shift. And that's exactly the methodology that Yeshua is recommending we do. It's given us a workbook to say every day, right, this is what you're going to do. You're going to study this lesson, you're going to practice it once, twice, 3 times, and then in between, he amps it up. He said, okay, now do it every hour. Remind yourself of this every hour. Because he's saying you've got to immerse yourself in this. Your ego is so deep-seated that the only way of undoing it is constant practice and immersion. And most people need some support to that because they're just not going to do it on their own.
Sure.
Even I developed a program for myself. I'm like, I'm not doing it. I want to do it, but unless I have a program, how am I going to do it?
Every Course in Miracles student I've ever spoke to, including myself, has all spoke about gosh, look what it's saying, you know, look what it's advising us to do. Oh, who's doing that? You know, kind of doing the work, you know, the daily lessons in the way that the lessons are.
Yeah.
You know,
You have to forgive yourself for not practicing properly.
Yeah, all day, every day.
Because-
Yeah.
But the point is, if you're doing even 10 or 20 or 30% of what you should be doing, so I give you a whole in the program. There's a whole email on this. You know, you could spend hours and hours on it, but if you do even 10% of that, you're probably doing a lot more than you would have done.
Yeah. In fact, one of the things about John's material, I actually think is you kind of have to go. I don't have time for. There's tons of stuff here.
Well, it's a daily schedule which you could immerse yourself in.
I mean, you literally could.
You know, you could do that like David Hoffmeister used to read the course 8 hours a day. You could really just go, okay, I'm going to dedicate my entire life to it. Well, that's possible. Maybe someone wants to do it. Maybe there's retired people who say, okay, I can do that. I've got the time.
Do. I mean, you've
Well, kind of.
dedicated your life.
Yeah, I suppose I have, but you know, I'm producing the material as well. But it's an immersion into it, and the more you immerse yourself in it, the more you get into the field of it. Something miraculous really does start to happen. You do find shifting, changing. If I think about myself 4 years ago compared with now, huge change.
Absolutely.
Because I've had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours of this material. Just I'm reading it, I'm teaching it, I'm writing it, I'm speaking it. It's just, and eventually it just becomes like, yeah, that's it. There's really nothing else.
I think it's like a rusty key at the start,
Yeah.
and now it's just like, I've got it.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm out of jail.
4 years ago, I was rusty. I'd kind of I'd been carried on in the course. I never, you know, completely let go of my practice, but I came over from South Africa, I got married, I moved countries, we had a child, got married, changed careers, like massive change in the middle of my life. I was like, what the hell's going on here? And what really saw me through it was the Course in Miracles. Like, okay, I've really got to learn this. It's like, it's not a sort of a nicety. It's not something I'm like, oh, well, I'm just now I'm a special Course in Miracles teacher. Because I think we all go through that phase, spiritual ego. It was like, I need this to save my life. I actually have to do this. And so as part of that process, I was like, well, I need to design the process. There isn't really a process out there. There's a lot of material, and make no mistake. But what you want is a systematic process, right? That's been structured and is guided by one person, but being directed by the Spirit. It's guiding you through this. So it's not a bit of this and a bit of this, and it's actually systematic, discipline, structured. And if you go with it, you're going to get benefit because it's being, Yeshua has designed a beautiful practice for us. The workbook is amazing if you actually do it. But how many people stick to the structure and the discipline?
Yeah, the review this time is 15 minutes a day. Certainly I've let that go, but although I spend the whole day thinking about it, but I don't do the meditation.
So what I do is I will send you a meditation for that day, for that lesson. So all you've got to do is listen to it.
Yeah.
Okay, put it on. You've got it on your phone, and so this is the idea: to make it really, really easy, as easy as it possibly can be. I mean, of course, it's never going to be easy. But if all the tools and the supports are there, then it becomes a whole lot easier. It's like, okay, well, it's all there. It's on tap. It's in my email. It's coming at me in the Telegram. It's all accessible. You know, the miracle, the information age, is that this kind of information can get out there to help us to awaken. That's what's really going on here. Information technology is there to awaken us.
Well, we're a bit nosy, John, just a daft thing. We have this wee calendar which basically says on the 1st of January you're at lesson 1. So if you think, oh, what lesson am I? And you just look for the date, and on February the 29th, there's the same lesson as February the 28th to keep it 365 days,
Yeah.
But you're not following that calendar.
Well, I started the program at the end, sort of third week of January. for a reason, because I didn't have people to join it on the 1st of January. So there was no point in starting a program when. So it needed 3 weeks to kind of, get a few people on board, and it honestly doesn't matter when you start it.
Sure.
So
A paragraph of the course would do it.
Yeah.
Pick the right line and
So we're not on less than 200 and whatever it is, 213. So we're on less than 178. A
I'll
little
be
bit.
ahead of
Little,
you.
yeah.
That's Glasgow for you.
Good man, humble.
But if you're in the
Sorry, I was just stupid Glasgow.
if you're in the process of that, then it's
Yeah.
fine. So what I'd advise is don't mix it. So the people who've done well have gone, okay, let me dive into this, give this a go for 3 weeks. There's a lady called Sally Peast, who went, she had all kinds of stuff going on, and then she just said, okay, this really resonated with me, and she gave it 3 weeks. She said, all right, I'll give it to you for 3 weeks. And as a result, she changed. She just said, actually everything I was doing before isn't as profound as this, so I'm just going to reorient myself. But she really gave it a full go. Because if you kind of dip into it, I had one lady say, I've got so many programs. I've got 5 different, it's never going to work. How can you can't split yourself in 5 different directions and expect to be making any kind of spiritual progress. It's like a spiritual dilettante. It's like, I want a bit of this and a bit of this, and seeking. And, seeking is never going to get you there. You're always going to be the seeker, never the finder. So it's rather go deep. There's a depth in this teaching. You don't need to look anywhere else other than the course. It's all there. So go really deep, dive deep into it, and that's how this program's been designed. I just think that way. I'm like, okay, well, we're going to do this properly. We just go very deep into it, and so there is a lot of material, for sure. But you go as deep. You go as deep as you can go.
we
Wherever
talk a
you're
lot
at.
about the feeling states. The gospel isn't in a book. It's not in words. Words are symbols of symbols at best. So it is actually about your commitment. I caught myself one morning where the computer was on pause with Marianne Williamson, the tablet was on pause with Newton Sanchez and Corinne, and the course was open and unread.
Yeah.
So it's like my book was unread.
You're drinking coffee.
And I think I was hanging washing. That's what I was doing. Bed sheets and things. And not committing to anything, just going.
So that's the danger, you see, because you've got so much. And it's like, rather commit to, I'm not saying it has to be a program I've designed, but commit to something and really do it properly, because that's when you're going to be making spiritual progress. If you're doing, even if it's just a Course in Miracles, I do a bit of this and a bit of this, and there's no structured process to it. It's not going to be the most effective way
The thing
making
that
spiritual progress.
The art of letting go when it appeals to me is the lack of hierarchy. I mean, one of the things there's a line in the course that says something about not worshipping the finger that points to the moon or something. As opposed to the moon itself. There's some line like that. But for me, the idea of spiritual teacher as someone who says we and us and and doesn't come from that hierarchical point of view of I've reached nirvana and now I'll tell you what it's like. I mean, it is that again, that thing of it's a very personal journey, the remembrance, the atonement. It's not about the non-duality of an off-planet God or the duality of an off-planet God. So in that respect, the art of letting go appeals to me in as much as it's a forum. It's a forum of
Yeah, I'm just a facilitator.
What did you call them earlier on, John? That was a nice phrase, I like what you said. Mighty companions. Yeah.
Which has come from something. Does it come from something?
Robert Herian used the phrase "mighty companions." Who's it he works with?
It's not actually a quote from the course, but we translate. So another thing to mention is what we're doing, which is I find it very interesting, is translating the course. So there is a language in the course. We all know it's got the Christian terminology, it's got Christ, and it's got Jesus. Well, it doesn't really mention Jesus too much. Christ and God and Son of God and Holy Spirit and salvation and etc. etc. So there's a language to it, which for a lot of people is very off-putting. If you've grown up in
a big thunderbolt to come down just now and
Yeah.
strike you on the head.
Yeah, because I'm daring to translate it. But, that only came from experience. So last year I was working with a couple who kind of kicked this all off, Sue and John. And I just found that when I said to them, okay, well, let's translate that word. They were like, oh, okay, so that I understand that better now. Just changing the word seems to bring a deeper understanding. So we did that for quite a while. And then I sort of said, well, why don't we just actually write that down? Just actually write the alternative word down and record it. So then we've got it for future. And so what's developed and what we do together is we actually translate this book into an alternative language.
That gives me the heebie-jeebies.
Why?
Just is, and I don't think having the heebie-jeebies is worth paying any attention to. But it is interesting to me. I kind of get that a lot of people have spoke about God as being a word that conjures, the old man with the big white beard and the idea of a kind of judgmental. And I kind of get that folk go, so whenever I read things that says, God or however you might understand the term source, love, I kind of can understand that. But I felt so delighted when I realised that Jesus, the man, like me, had, understood what it was like to have an ego and understood what it was like to be, tempted to heart, understood the Christ mind and understood what it was to be Christ-minded in the same way that, Lao Tzu Tung or, you might say Muhammad or Buddha, or, all understood the Christ mind. So I felt so glad that having had this crazy Catholic upbringing, that I had reframed this idea of, the Christ, and that we were all the Christ and we were all the divine spark. And then this guy John all comes up and sort of says, I'm just going to change all the terminology in this wonderful big antidote to religion, which is the healing of religious wounding, this book. And then you come along and start going, well, I'm just going to upgrade it again and scrub out.
To me it makes, why use a pointer? If it's a signpost, a word is a pointer or a signpost, that's all it is. True. Why use a signpost that's not helpful? You want to use a signpost that's helpful for people to find the truth, to find the direction. So if the signpost gets them blocked at this, and they go, no, I don't think I'm going to go that direction because I don't like the signpost.
That's right.
It's not a good pointer. So change the pointer. I mean, it's just a word.
Yeah, but somebody eventually will not particularly like your signpost and
That's
say,
true.
"No,
That's
it's
true.
Like this, like, let's,
Then
There is universal themes though that you can identify with, like for example Robert Burns. If I'd sung one day that instead of I must do that, 50 million people in Manchester or Salzburg or Japan or Spain wouldn't know what I was talking about. So I change it to must because it clears right through the head better. So you're talking about clearing through the head better.
yeah, exactly.
That's what you're
Just to
talking
make it more effective, because the words are pointers to the truth. So if you
Right, yeah,
say
you're right again.
the Son of God, and for a lot of people, Son of God has all kinds of connotations. Jesus was the only Son of God. He died on the cross. There's a whole misinterpretation around it. But you change Son of God to the extension of perfect love.
Well,
What does
Carol
that
Howe
do?
does that, doesn't she? She uses love instead of God.
What does that do? It just changes it. Oh, I'm just the extension of perfect love. Oh, wow. Okay. So all of that Christian, whatever concept you had around that, just dissolves because it's not even there. You've removed that block. So, again, I only do what works. I'm a pretty practical guy. I go, okay, well, let's see what's effective. And in hundreds and hundreds of hours of these sessions, you start to see what's working and what's not.
Yeah.
And then
One of the things that you might do with that and begin to understand now is bring home the journey of Jesus. Because there's a part of me that understands that, and I can understood it today listening to Nux Sanchez and Corinne. I don't know if you listened to that today, but they were talking about the idea of Nux Sanchez had this rubbish experience in this particular lifetime of being sexually raped when she was a kid. So that was her kind of story was And so her and Corinne, being Nook's interest in Corinne, get into a conversation about how Nook brought that about herself to basically, because it was one of the last defences of, well, when that happens to a kid, well, you're out of jail free, you can not believe in God, you can just go, well, look, I really am a victim here, and there really are villains. So you can take all this holy moly stuff, and because what happened to me was the worst. So it was really kind of, when she was saying that, the ego really had to come up with a story that was really, really kind of, because she was moving through lifetimes into more and more light, and so this was one of the, and so they were kind of get to the stage where they giggle about it and they laugh about it as a kind of almost kind of high five. And I just thought, God, isn't it interesting, the Christ crucified? I mean, talk about being sure you were a body. When folk are putting spears and thorns in it, I'm sure my body is really hurts, and it was almost like I started to giggle a wee bit myself and thought, God, this is weird. I'm thinking about the crucifixion for the first time in my life and getting the giggles, but it was almost like I really got that it was almost like the Jesus story, the crucifixion actually is in there as kind of, oh my goodness, if I needed one last big, I am not a body, a crucifixion would probably do it,
That was his last forgiveness lesson.
Yeah.
To go, okay, on the cross, forgive them, Father, they know not what they do.
Yeah. And it was the first time I really looked at that as a story where you could almost see that Jesus would be saying this, look, I know it looks like I'm being crucified up here, but I'm doing this so you don't have to. A wee bit like why Thelma and Louise drove off the cliff, so we don't have to, girls. So it's almost like, I suppose if you start to reframe that story in words, then again we get a chance to kind of like, and that word responsibility for me always sounds like blame, always. I think the human ears just hear it as blame. But I know now that the accountability for all of that does give you the giggles if you get it. If you start to get really accountable for all the drama and all the crucifixion stories of your own personal life, all the thorns and spears, you actually start to go, God, it really is just a plan to keep you stuck.
Well, the Zen masters say enlightenment is a joke. Because when you get it, you just gotta laugh. You go, oh, God. I can't believe I did that to myself.
You can't believe
what a story that was.
So all of a sudden, instead of responsibility sounding like blame, sounding like we're bringing all this shit onto ourselves. We are the guys who are really responsible for all this shit. I just feel so guilty. I need to forgive myself for all that shit. I'm trying really hard, it's not working. And to actually kind of keep on thinking till you get to accountable, and then accountable, you start
We have a laugh.
break through
and
get the giggles.
That's just funny.
Yeah. Oh, look what I'm coming up with and convince myself I am a villain, a victim, a body.
Yeah, it is quite funny. I mean, I think the masters sit and they go, this is hilarious.
Yeah.
It's divine comedy. But in our human lives, it can feel very difficult, and very lonely.
There's lots of stories we've all read about people, threatened by a gun or a knife and they get the giggles. Because in that moment they just go, do your worst. There's lots of stories like that, and you think, how could that happen? And then there's a bit of you that kind of knows that you might just do that. You might go, the person that's got a gun, do you know what I mean? You just might.
Yeah. And then the person's going to, well, what do I do now? You're supposed to be afraid. You're not afraid, so. There's a great, if you saw the Guy Ritchie movie, Revolver, did you see that?
No.
There's a scene where right at the end, the protagonist who's now come into his higher mind, he's come into the Holy Spirit, fought this whole battle in his mind, and he's facing his arch enemy, and he's got a gun. This guy's a gangster. It's a casino, set in a casino. So the gangster's like, I've got a gun, and I'm going to shoot you. He just looks at him like, nothing.
And your point is?
And the point is the guy just cracks.
Yeah.
He actually can't cope.
Yeah.
He's like, you should be afraid and you're not afraid.
Yeah,
and you're just looking at me like,
You're not playing the game.
That's what I mean.
and it totally blows his mind. And then he shoots himself because he just can't. He can't.
Go and shoot somebody.
Exactly. He can't deal with it. It's like,
National Lampoon, when the hijacker hijacks a plane from Jews and they start saying, I'm a doctor and one says I'm a specialist, and I think I just, it blows out his brains, hijack it, can't cope with all these mad Jews.
It's nice to see the ego kind of thwarted as well and have a story like that. It's nice to see egos like that. And then the next thing.
But it's like I've been afraid all my life and on doing that, you know, and I think now I'm a member of this group, but I've not been here I've not been able to come in 6 months. I've been in the Balkans. I've been.
Well, apparently you saved us because you found the
Yes.
flip chart, which I haven't actually used yet.
Yes,
So
he-
I might just do that because I wanted to
he
show
was-
us a couple of things.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go.
Yes, my
So thank you very much.
that's quite late.
Okay.
Much later than filming.
Well, you're most welcome. Have I got your email address?
You must do, because I looked through it.
Yes. And would you like to get some daily inspiration via WhatsApp?
Any idea is, I just anything ask for this I'm so glad that I kind of hear. See, that was really to go on every day to it's kind of get complete so if I could hear
Master, you away?
it,
You've got all the way to Edinburgh to go
But I will be in touch via email.
Okay, well, she'll probably do that.
Okay, so
I'll have to go.
yeah, thank you. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, Jonah, just to remind you that folk have put their cars on, because it was 7:30 to 9:30, but just put that in your mind for
When you don't want.
just for people put their cars on meters and stuff like that, you know, because just because it's advertised.
Serious.
Hmm.
Fine, you know.
Are you going to go?
I'm going to head off. Labby, you can lock up, yeah?
Catherine and I lock up, we'll put the alarm on in.
Right.
Yeah.
Is everyone else happy to stay for a few minutes, or
Yeah.
what's the
Yeah. Oh no.
or 5 minutes, 10 minutes? Or what's the
Labby, I'm off in the 28th, so I meeting before that will come. Right?
Okay.
Okay, right, okay.
So I wanted to share this.
Card?
Have we got a
Yeah.
Ian, yeah, the pens, Ian had the pens.
Uh,
we have a pen somewhere?
Yeah, they're all mine, sorry.
no, we're in the same, here we are.
They're in the back. Okay.
You see, I think he's only been here 4 minutes, isn't he? That's when we do. So we'll be talking maybe a wee bit 10 minutes.
Yeah. I'm just going to share this with you because it's
Okay, cheers, bye everybody.
Oh no, that's Marion.
a very nice. Okay, let me see how my drawing skills are. So to close this off, and we've chatted about a few things, but I wanted to talk about the hero's journey. Anyone heard of the hero's journey?
Because I pulled it off the journey.
So
No.
the guy called Joseph Campbell.
Okay.
Heard of Joseph Campbell?
Yes.
Heroes. He was an American who was a very, very learned man. He would read sort of 9 hours a day, and he read a tremendous amount about different cultures, different religions, different philosophies. And what he saw was a pattern emerging, as you do if you immerse yourself in something. He saw this pattern that no one had ever seen before. But all of these had this, what he called the monomyth. The hero's journey is the myth of the hero who's trying to find himself or herself. And this was a universal theme throughout all these different cultures. So you've got a person there, ready to go on a journey. And there's a call to adventure. And that can come in many forms, often some shocking forms. You lose a job, someone dies, something happens to disturb the kind of status quo. But the truth is you weren't very happy in the status quo, actually. You were wanting a change, and then something comes along to call you to an adventure. And that adventure is not go anywhere physically. That adventure is the adventure of discovering who you really are. So this is the the universal theme of human life. Who are you really? All the masters and the mystics have said, know thyself. This is what it's about. So this is just another framing of this, but this is kind of how this journey works, and it's quite useful to know how it works if you're going to go on it. So it talks about the known world. So this world is the known world, the world of your ego, the world that you're familiar with, the world of your personality, the world of your existing thoughts and emotions and beliefs and perceptions that make up this. This is the world as you know it. And it's not very satisfying to you. Something in you knows that this isn't all there is and is restless. And so the call to adventure comes along in some form or another. For Lucy, you were sitting on a couch. Your friend said, come along, join in. That was a call to adventure. I then gave you another call. I said, well, do you want to join the program? And you went, yes. Okay, so you've got a choice. You can say no. But if you say no and you sabotage it, then you remain stuck. And it gets increasingly uncomfortable if you don't listen to that call. And the calls get harder and harder. It's like, okay, so a little tap. You didn't listen, okay, well then it becomes a nudge. And then the next thing is a baseball bat comes out and whacks you over the head because you didn't listen, to multiple calls. So it's a call to adventure. And then you get these threshold guardians that come in. So the ego, being what it is, doesn't want you to go on this adventure. So these are the voices in your own mind, and other people can be the projection of that, saying, no, you don't want to do that. Absolutely no way. Let's say you want to go and start a new business. No, absolutely no. No, stick to, you must have a job, got to have a secure income, stay where you are, better what you know than the devil you know than the devil you don't. These kinds of voices, which are seemingly quite prevalent in our society. So these are what are called threshold guardians. And it's about overcoming, breaking through that barrier. If you're willing to go through that resistance and say, you know what, even though there's resistance, I'm committed to this. It's something I'm saying, go forward. Then the hero's journey starts in earnest. And then you go from the known world into the unknown world. And that unknown world is the world of your true self, the world that Yeshua calls the real world. You're now starting to see, finally, truly, everything in you from a fresh perspective. But it's not necessarily easy, because as you go along these ways, you get challenges and trials and temptations. So if you find those coming up, you're not alone. This is the monomyth. This is what happens universally. We see this in movies. You don't go and watch a movie where it's all plain sailing for the hero. You go watch a movie where the hero is completely, absolutely tested to the core and somehow manages to break through that and overcome that. That's inspiring because it was so difficult. So we get these challenges and these trials and these temptations. But along the way, there's mentors and helpers and guides that come in at these points to help us to get through them. So that might show up in the form of someone like me. It might show up in the form of a signpost, a billboard, a friend who says, here's a book, read it, and it's A Course in Miracles. Many, many different ways. Really, the spirit of life, which is trying to help you to take this journey, is supporting you. And it's trying to find ways, if you're up for this journey, to help you through those challenges and those trials and those temptations. Because it knows you're not going to get through them without some help. These are the miracles that show you, actually, there is another power. There is something beyond this. And if I'm just willing to listen and go there, then that will reveal itself. And if you keep going on this path, these can get quite intense, as we know. It's not easy, because the ego then is defending more and more. So more challenges, more trials, more temptations. Because what else can it do? It's not going to say, oh, well, just go to enlightenment and then I'm done for. These are its defenses. But if you're wanting to keep going and persevere through those, and this is where the help, the mighty companions and support comes in, because it's very easy to want to give up, turn around, and go, no, ego's going to tell you go back into the known world, and just you were fine before, even though you weren't really. It's going to tell you all kinds of stories that this is safe and this is better, and this is actually hell that you're going into, because at the bottom here lies we call the abyss. This is death and rebirth. So eventually, if you continue with this process, you die. Not physically, but you die to the old self. The ego cannot sustain anymore under this impetus of the spirit. And you get, once you've gone through all the challenges and the trials and the temptations, you get to the very core. It's been called the dark night of the soul, where you face this awful entity. And I have to tell you, having been through this, it's awful, completely hideous. You think you're going crazy and mad and the world's coming to an end, but it's not. Actually, all you're seeing is just how awful it really is, and seeing it in all of its ugliness, so that you can let it go finally and go, you know what, I'm done with this. That's it, no more. And it can't fool you anymore. So you have to reveal it. And again, this is the monument. Everyone has to go through this. The death and the rebirth. Yeshua went through it. He went his 40 days in the desert. That was his abyss. He went in there and he was like, right, I'm sitting here until I come into my true awareness. I'm not moving. I will not eat until I come into that awareness. So that's how committed he was. The Buddha also just sat and eventually just gets it. So deep commitment. And so they went on their hero's journeys, and they go through this experience, and now they come out the other side transformed. This is transformation. They are a transformed human being. They see differently. They have a different perception from everyone else because they've been through this experience. You can't fake this. You can't know this unless you've walked the path. Right? So Morpheus in the Matrix said there's a difference between knowing the path and walking the path. Knowing this conception, oh yeah, I know Joseph Campbell. No, but have you actually walked the path? Have you gone through the challenges and the trials of the temptations? Have you gone through the abyss where it just everything seems to be falling apart? Because that's when you can really know, and that's when the real transformation happens. And then once you've done that transformation, you really know who you are. You have this at one minute, and it was very interesting because this is another tradition that it uses the term at one minute. And I say it is at one minute because it's not atonement, not atoning for sins. You are becoming at one with your true self. That's the universal mark of enlightenment. You become one with who you really are, and you realize you're not really separate from anyone. You are one with them, and that becomes a known, felt experience. It's not just a concept. And then you come back, so it's a full circle. You journey back into the known world, and you bring these gifts with you. So what you learned through this process, you now can bring back to other people who are lost in the dream world, who are stuck in the known world, who are yearning for an adventure. They're yearning to know their true selves. And you bring those gifts back to that known world, to society, to help them, to help others to take the same journey. And this is what if you think about all the great masters, they all teach. Because what else is there to do? Once you've had an experience like this, you come back and you go, well, what else is there to do with my life? Do I want to be a carpenter after that experience? No. There's only one thing I can do, and that's to go out and preach this message and teach it. Because I know that this is what people really need. They don't need carpentry. They need God. They need spirit. They need love. And so it becomes then the true calling of that person. And they are inspired by the spirit. And then they inspire others to follow the journey. Now, I think we're in a very interesting time in human history because I think this is happening faster and faster. I think more and more people are being called to adventure.
COVID was brilliant. COVID was absolutely perfect because it's a call to adventure, right? If things are going wrong in your known world, that's really a call to adventure, to get out of the stuckness and say, okay, actually this is broken, and actually I need a complete radical change. I need a break with the known world. I can't fix this known world. I can only move out of it and transcend it. And that's really what the hero's journey is about. So it's a construct that helps you to understand what the spiritual journey is about and what it's actually going to take to do this. This isn't easy. This is the hardest thing you'll ever do. But it's the only thing that's going to be worthwhile. It's the only thing you really are here to do. We're all here to take our hero's journey. If you don't step up, Winston Churchill said it very well. What a tragedy if a man, he's using man, but what a tragedy if a person has this great opportunity, their finest hour comes and they're not ready. They find themselves unprepared or unqualified for their finest hour. What he meant was the call to adventure. When you don't hear that and you don't listen, you go, oh, I'm not ready and I fear. What a tragedy, because the whole purpose of your life is exactly this moment. So in this whole COVID experience, we've all had our experiences. But it came to me very, very clearly when they did that first lockdown that this is the finest hour. This is the call. Here it is. This is what you're waiting for. It's not sometime in the future. It's right here, right now. So are you going to step up and actually step into this and do it? Or are you going to fear and go, oh, it's all terrible and it's so awful and I'll just commit suicide because it's so dreadful? And I think that's, we're all being called to say, okay, what are you going to do? And if you really step up and you understand this, you go, well, I know, because this is a universal template, that if I follow this and I really have courage and guts and I go for this, that I will do this. It's inevitable. It's a done deal. You are going to get through this because this happens to everyone. And we will go to atonement and you will bring the gifts back. And I've been through this journey once already, probably a couple of times in my life. And now the only thing that I want to do is to share it. Say, okay, well, if I can help other people, if I can design a process that helps them to go through this journey more quickly and more easily and get through the challenges and the trials and the temptations, and most importantly, not give up. Do not give up. Again, Winston Churchill, never give in, never give in, never give in. Because this ego force wants you to give in, wants you to know it's too hard, it's too difficult. Just give in and just do what? Just carry on, as though everything's okay and it's normal in this world. And you can't. You have to have that, warrior spirit. And the only fight is against the ego. That's all you're trying to undo. You're not fighting anyone else. It's just your own false self. And so this entire process that I really believe I'm inspired to design is designed to help you through this journey, to understand it, to work through it as quickly and painlessly as possible. And it's still not easy. I know, and what's going on? I said, well, I didn't promise it was going to be easy, but this is what you have to go through. Whether you're doing it on my course or whenever, you have to go through this. That's all.
Well, it's just that daily, the possibility of having a daily conversation about that. Coming into the group, coming into the space, and the clarity. I mean, you have a particular clarity and a particular transmission that you do have. That's what's kept me in that space, and to be able to unpack something through the language, and having both, not just the one that's been interpreted, but actually the original. So there's nothing about transferring that. It's just that there's another interpretation, another way of perceiving. It's like Rumi said, or Hafiz said, change rooms in your mind for a day. And I find that with this process it's like I come out and something shifted. There's a perceptual shift, And even coming in here, I noticed I was carrying a lot of anxiety about new people and something just about like landing and, oh yeah, we're talking about the work, we're talking about the Course in Miracles. This is the connector, and it's so powerful, and And it's brought with innocence and with dedication and with generosity, actually, a hell of a lot of generosity. And I have stayed in that because I love that generosity. But what I wanted to say as well, before everybody leaves, is that we got so excited about it that we've booked a space in Findhorn for a week to have a retreat and really dive into this, really have the experience of mighty companions coming together, people coming together. You know, we all have the same heart, the same desire, really, and you know, to be at one mint. And so we thought we would have a practice, you know, create a space where there's really nice food, a great venue. It's a good price. It's about 800 or something. And
897.
I just wanted to say that before we kind of left.
What are
That
the dates?
we want to take this on.
Mm.
What is it, September?
So it's
the-
21st to the 26th of September. Right? So this is my call to adventure to all of you. If you feel like you feel inspired tonight, don't just go and go, okay, well, you know, business is actually do something about it. Say, okay, I'll take the next step. And you can do a couple of things. You could join this 3-week free program, 3-week free trial. No strings attached. Try it. Dive in from tomorrow. All I need is your email address and your mobile number, and you'll get the material. You get a WhatsApp or text message, a Telegram message every day, and you get a comprehensive email. I think those emails are pretty comprehensive. I know, because I write them there's a lot in there. So you can dive into it and you can see, you know, does this process work for you? So that's one way you can actually do something about it. Another way would be to say, okay, I'm actually up for this retreat. I would really love to do this. A 5-day, 6 days, 5 nights immersion experience where effectively I'm going to do what I did in 6 weeks. That 6-week course that you did, it's going to be condensed, not all of it because it's impossible to do that many hours, but the essence. There's a transformational process that I take you through to really identify. You know, you talked about that unworthiness.
Oh yeah.
Like if you can get to the core of that, you can really see that, and you experience it viscerally. And then there's an emotional letting go. And I've experienced this myself because I've done these kinds of transformational retreats a number of times in South Africa. For some reason, they just seem to run a lot of them there. It's not about information transmission. It's about taking you on a journey into your own self through these transformational exercises, processes, to get to the very core of the ego. And there you undo it. So the idea of the retreat, if the process is successful, is that you will go through that experience in the retreat, and you will come out the other side, and you'll go, that was the most hectic, mind-blowing, awesome, amazing, terrible retreat I've ever had. Because how do you describe such an experience? But I believe that because of the experience I've had, having gone through this process myself, and having done these various retreats and processes, so I know the technology. There's a way of facilitating this to give people an experience that in 5 days can really accelerate this and take them into that space. So it's not for the faint-hearted. If you want a hey chihuahua, nice feel-good retreat, no, it's not that. But will it rock your world? Absolutely. This will absolutely rock your world. You will come out of that and go, oh my God, I'm not the same person as I was 6 days ago. And that's the whole point. That's what transformation is. So if that works for you, and I'm not saying it will work for everyone, but if you feel the call to adventure, then I'd like to invite you to join us, because I've only got one booking at the moment. It's happening in 6 weeks. We priced it really reasonably. It's £897 for 6 days, 5 nights, including accommodation and food. Okay? So pretty reasonable. Because we want people to do it, and I want to do this. I've run retreats before in South Africa, but not for many years because of COVID, and I came over here. But this is going to be something different on another level. And I really think anyone who comes into this, and if you come with an open heart and you say, I'm really up for this, I want to do this, then you will have this experience, because that's what it's designed to facilitate. And you come out as a transformed person, and you go, actually, finally, I understand the course on a visceral level. I really get it. I had an experience, I've had many, but about a year ago, I went into a 10-day Vipassana retreat. You know what Vipassana is? It's a Vipassana, cross-legged meditation. So you sit like this for hours and hours and hours, 12 hours a day, sitting like this. And they say, you know, in the what do they call them? Meditations of strong determination. You shouldn't move for an hour, right? So like pretty. So I'm like, okay, well, you know, I'm up for this. I'm going to do it. So I sit and I sit and I sit. And on day 9, I'm so tired physically, and the body's just so like I go, I'm just going to lie down. And I lie down on my bed and I break the rules. And in that moment, I just got it. It just downloaded. I was like, oh my God. I had a moment of absolute, all I could call it was pure formless awareness, where I wasn't asleep, there was no thought, but it was just awareness. That's it. For, I don't know how long it was, you don't know, there's no time. It was just maybe a second, maybe 2, probably 10, who knows. Not very long, I don't think. But it could have been 5 minutes, I don't know. And then I came out of that, and the entire course just downloaded for me.
Wow.
And it was like, I get it. I absolutely get it. What we've done is we've covered over our awareness, that pure formless awareness, because that's all I could call it. And that's where the translation started coming out. It's like, okay, well, what do you call God? It's the pure formless awareness. That's all it is. There's nothing else you can really say about it. And all we've done is we've taken this precious awareness, absolute, and I was like, that was just so mind-blowing, I can't even describe it. And we've covered over it. And we've said, I don't want that. I prefer a separate self. I prefer to be my own self. I don't want that awareness anymore. I want my own identity. And then we've invented a world that justifies all of the negative thoughts and emotions that make up the covering. And so I understood finally what they mean by the veil of illusion. When they say the veil of illusion, it's the covering over that pure formless awareness. And it was like all dropped in about 5 minutes. And I cried. I was devastated. It was so sad because I realized what I'd done. I'd covered over that awareness, and it wasn't no one else's fault. I'd done that and lost the pearl of greatest price, lost this absolutely precious awareness, which I just now had an experience of. And I went, why would I not want that? That was the most beautiful experience I've ever had. Why would I possibly want to cover that over with all of this crap that fills my life, that populates my days? And it was so sad that I cried. And so you have these kinds of experiential realizations through the practice. That didn't come because someone sat and taught me theory for days and days. It came because of the experience of just sitting and being. That's one way. Vipassana is one way. So we all do meditation. But just like with the Course and the Holy Relationship, there are quicker ways to facilitate that kind of thing. You do transformational experiences and exercises which engage you mentally and emotionally and push you beyond your comfort zone. Then this is what happens. You start to get these kinds of experiences and insights because there's a part of your mind that wants this experience. It's ready for that experience. And all I'm doing is I'm facilitating that experience for you. So, that's the invitation. Join us. I think it's going to be really an amazing experience. Lucy will be co-facilitating, as well as Iona, who is an artist and has been on the journey for six months, but longer than that, but 6 months intensively. And we're going to be using all kinds of modalities, art and music and dance, and really anything that's going to shift you. So the whole process is designed to create this transformation and help you to really, really come to an awareness finally of who you really are. because that's what it's all about. Who you really are, not conceptual knowing I'm the Christ. No, I really know. I really experience it firsthand. So if anyone would like more information about that, I will email you. I'll send you more information. If you'd like to join this 3-week free trial and just jump into some of the sessions we do, we've got another one tomorrow afternoon. In fact, there's a meditation happening tomorrow at 1:30, if anyone's up for it, at the Westbourne Medical Studios. Do you know where that is?
In Dollar.
No, in Glasgow.
In Glasgow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's Veronica's studios.
Oh, Westbourne Medical Studio.
Yes. Lindock Crescent or something?
Lindock.
Yeah.
Lindock Street, I lived in Lindock Street.
Lindock Crescent, yeah, it's just up the road. It's
Yeah,
not-
so I think
not
it's
far
close.
at all.
Close by. So I'm going to do the afternoon session there, including a meditation.
A half one.
See you most. Yeah, the meditation will be from 1:30, and our session starts at 12:30 normally. So if you'd like to jump in, you're most welcome.
Where is that again? What time, what address is that?
I'll tell you now. It's let me quickly. So
It varies every Thursday, but it's been kind of a great support.
if I haven't got anyone's mobile number and you want to get some information from me via WhatsApp and Telegram, then please give me. Yes. Yeah, great.
You tried and say?
Yeah. So Kathy, where are you? Hoy, there we go, Catherine Hoy. Do you want to give me your email address again, just so I've got it?
Yeah, it's CT Hoy.
I went to Fenimore in 78.
HOY.
Yeah, I was there for a while when it was Marlene, she her and another dude in America. They were building the theatre.
Yeah, just
Been there since, but that was the